Alright guys, welcome to the Strong Close portion of the Run and Gun ebook. In this video we're going to be going over the runs from Strong Close. We're going to be talking about why each run is effective and the reason that we use each run in certain situations, and we're also going to be going up against the meta defenses to show you how to really attack the more popular run defenses in Madden 20. Now I just want to touch on personnel real quick before we go ahead and jump in. We're going to be using the Cowboys just simply because they have the best run blocking O-line. They have a decent fullback. And for the Strong Close in this scheme in specific, they have a mobile quarterback, which is going to be helpful when we get to the passing portion. But for now, I'm just going to show you guys kind of the lineup we're using. You can use Jason Witten, you can use Jarwin, whatever you want to use. We're just going to use Witten in this example just because he's probably a better run blocker. The receivers we'll go over more in the passing section, but I just like fast guys. The halfback, you can use either a bruiser or a shifty back. I prefer a shifty back because it's more my style, but you really can just use whoever you want. The audibles that we're going to be doing. Our X audible is going to be Y trail. That's going to be displayed at the top of your screen with the slant, trail, route, and fade. Our run audible, or Y audible, is going to be the dive weak. Now I prefer the dive weak over the dive, and we'll get into that a little bit more as I show you that run play. Our LB audible is going to be mesh. It's going to be all the way at the bottom of your screen right there. And then our RB audible is going to be PA scissors. We're going to come out in halfback force or halfback off tackle. It's called different things in different playbooks. And the first defense we're going to take a look at this run against is going to be the 3-4 odd cover 4 drop. Probably the more popular, or probably the most popular run defense in the game, just because it's so basic, so easy to set up. It puts the safeties in run fits. We're going to be baselining, and I just want to show you this run against just a baseline 3-4 odd cover 4 drop. This is an off tackle run. You can take this right off the edge. And let's hop into replay real quick. Take a look at why it's effective. The defense currently has 3 defenders on the right side of the ball in the box. We have 2 linemen, a tight end, a fullback, and a wide receiver. So we have a numbers advantage, first of all. Second, the run is designed to go off tackle, meaning it's designed to go to the right of this tackle and in between the tight end in this gap right here. So you'll see at the snap of the ball, the guard locates the defensive end, puts a hat on him. They double team down on the defensive end, making it really difficult for that defensive end to block shed right away. And then we're off to the races where the fullback goes out and he takes out the corner, and we have opportunity for a big gain. That's your basic 3-4 odd setup. It's just a baseline. Now, once that works, what you're going to see is people are going to start doing something like this. They're going to start spreading their linebackers or manually dragging them out. That's fine. This run will still work against that. They'll bring most likely the backside safety in the box. I can't simulate both run defense and run offense at the same time, so you just have to kind of imagine that there will be a user somewhere in here trying to shoot the gaps. Same thing, double team, and then we kind of just get into a wedge right there. That's really not great run stick. Let's go ahead and take a look at this again. It's not always going to be perfect, but we do have lanes here. You can see that we can cut this up the middle, which is probably what I should have done, is cut this up the middle. I could have taken a better angle and tried to get outside, but it looks like this linebacker may be coming free. But you'll see that there are lanes to run this on the off tackle with the spread linebackers. It's not completely boxed. Let's go ahead and take a look at that again. Let's see what happened if we ran up the middle. You can easily cut this up the middle. That's 4 or 5 yards, especially if you have a trucking back. You're really going to fall forward a lot in that. And if you have a shifty back, then you can probably make one guy miss. What the next thing the next adjustment your opponent will probably do is pinch spread. Now we have a really great lane right in front of this linebacker. You'll see at the snap of the ball that tackle goes and attacks that linebacker. Sometimes there's those anomalies where a guy will shed like immediately. It's not an every down thing, I can assure you. Right there, we got plenty of time. We could have bounced that to the outside. I'm trying to simulate the run and defense at the same time. It's hard. Let's do it one more time. There we go. Now we can get to the outside. Take this to the crib with Zeke Elliott. So now we know that those 3 setups don't work for 3 or 4 odd. People will get frustrated and they will start trying to blitz you. So they'll start doing, I've seen this defense online a lot. With the contains, where the linebackers are attacking down. And then they'll use the guy in the box. Same deal right here. Now we have an even bigger lane. The more they blitz, the more they give up in the run game. Especially in this 3-4 odd. So then you'll probably see something like this as well. Everybody in the gaps. This is what we want. We want our opponent to get to this point where they're sending everybody, because this is, 1, we can pass on this, but 2, we can really gouge this with the run because everybody's going to be a hat on a hat. We're going to be able to break this to the outside, and there's maybe 1 defender we have to make miss for a touchdown. So that was just a random shed right there. That will happen. Let's go ahead and do that again. Sometimes you'll see that. More than likely, you'll have a lane. Let's do it one more time. There we go. A lot of times that's what you're going to see. So you just got to keep at it. If you see like a block shed come off immediately, that's usually an anomaly. It's really just a coin flip if they're going to shed or not. And you can do a lot better with run stick than I did. I mean, you can bounce this to the edge. That's another touchdown right there. That's really the look we want, is that show blitz look out of 3-4 odd. That's really going to get us our biggest gains on the ground. So let's go ahead and take a look at the dive now against 3-4 odd, the dive weak. So against the basic 3-4 odd, dive weak, just like that. It's real simple. It's a nice little left side run. Where it gets a little tricky is when they start blitzing their linebackers. So if they spread their linebackers like this and they blitz this outside linebacker, he'll come in free like that. But the fullback will cut across the formation and act like an inside zone split. You just have to try not to force this to the outside, or else you're going to run into the fullback. So that's this setup that people use. They usually just blitz their outside linebackers. Oh, ran a halfback force. All right. So that's the setup people would typically use. When we run this dive weak, you can kind of just swerve inside the fullback and then go back to the outside. There's no reason to really run this dive weak against 3-4 odd with this setup if the other runs are working. But if they're not working and they're like shooting gaps or whatever, or they're doing a good job of getting to the outside and putting a clamp on that outside run, then you can just audible into this, and it's still really good. Now, another thing you can do from the dive week is, I just call it evening up. So now we're going to even up with the amount of offensive players and defensive players that are on either side of the ball. Okay. So now we have a tight end over there. By motioning the tight end over, we get the tight end block, and we have more of a gap on that right side. So I prefer the first setup, but every now and then I'll motion the tight end over if that's not working. And the other thing you can do too is, with this dive weak, you can flip it to the right side, and it's still pretty darn good. So now we have a run right, a run left, a run middle, and that's pretty much all you need as far as, the run game. Left, right, middle. We have different ways we can attack different areas of the defense depending on what looks we get. Now let's hop into another defense. We're going to hop into the 3-4 bear. The 3-4 bear is what I've been seeing is slowing down this run game the most. It's the best formation, I think, to slow it down. We're going to be going into cover 2 invert. base of line. Typically what people do with this defense is they'll blitz the outside linebacker on the run side or just blitz both linebackers. For this example, we're going to go ahead and blitz both. And this is not a look you want to run off tackle against. It's going to be a hat on a hat with the guard, the tackle, the tight end, and then the fullback's going to probably get lost in the mix and try to find that safety that's not in the box, but he won't. It's really a gamble running this. Sometimes you can pop it, sometimes you can't. Right there we did perfectly, but I can assure you that there's times where that tight end gets pushed into your way, and there's really nowhere to go. Let's take a look at this replay again. This is 100% not the most consistent run. See, if Jason Witten doesn't lock up this outside linebacker, which in MUT, you're probably going to be facing guys with really good block shed like Lawrence Taylor, Von Miller. You're going to be in big trouble. You're going to get hit in the backfield. So what you want to do against the Bear, there's several things we can do. We can come out with the formation like this, quickly flip it, and in game you can flip the formation and spam the A button and snap the ball really quick. Now we have a bigger gap to run through. We have less defenders to deal with. Or you can call the dive weak. Dive weak looks just like this. Dive weak's pretty darn good against it. We do get that linebacker to peel off and come attack us. You can call the dive weak and flip it. So this is dive weak. This is dive weak flipped. The fullback does the inside zone split type thing where he goes out and attacks the linebacker coming free off the edge. I think the rule to remember with the dive weak is the fullback usually attacks the opposite side that you run to, and it's usually going for the free defender. You can see at the snap of the ball, he goes upfield and then cuts to the left to take out that linebacker. And now we're in a good situation because this is the only guy coming free and he gets lost in the mix. This wide receiver blocks down on the linebacker, giving us just enough space to run this up the middle. And you can really punish people for running the bear against you. Now, like I said, this is the best defense against it that I've seen. This is probably one of the best run defenses in the game. Maybe not this exact setup, but a version of this. You're going to have to pass on this, especially if they're blitzing both flats. But in order to make them respect your run game out of this, you're going to need to run the ball a few times against 3-4 bear, and that's really going to be how you're going to do it. Now we're going to hop into 4-4 split real quick because that's the other defense people are running. 4-4 split is 4 down linemen, 4 linebackers. So 4-4 split is a really balanced defense, so you can't really punish them by flipping the play and running to the other side. What you're going to have to do is be really patient and find the right hole. It's really going to be dependent on the defense's personnel and where you can get your wins at. So if this outside linebacker right here is not great at shedding in the run, then you can bounce this to the outside. If these guys aren't great at shedding in the run, then you keep this to the inside. You see when we snap the ball, it's kind of boxed up, right? That's a really good look for the defense. That's a good win for the defense. But if you cut this upfield, you have a guy that can break a tackle. You can get a few yards. The off tackle is not the greatest run against this. What I prefer is the dive or the dive weak. Dive weak. Now we can kind of pick where we want to go. Typically, once you run this like once or twice, people will start making different adjustments. They'll pinch, spread. When they start pinching like that, that's when you can run the off tackle. We'll have a lot more success now. But you got to force them into making the adjustments to stop the dive now. So with the dive, you can also flip it to the other side. And you get this look. It's really good. Then I think the most popular way to set up this 4-4 split that I've been seeing online is spread, and then they'll try to user shoot down in this gap. And the reason I really like the dive weak is because when we call the dive weak, we usually flip it. this fullback will go out and attack the guy on the edge, and a lineman will go attack that guy trying to shoot free. So let's go ahead and take a look real quick. When we flip it, he does the inside zone split block. They double down on this defensive end, and then he comes off to attack the free runner. Now, there's a small lane here. We can cut this right here a little bit to the left. This isn't completely boxed. We can get 3 to 4 yards on this and make them respect the run still. Remember, not every run has to be a home run hitting run. If we continuously get positive yards on each run, it's really going to annoy our opponent. It's going to force them into getting a little crazy with their defense, and then that's when we can hit them with maybe an outside run or a good pass, really punish them for blitzing a lot of defenders. So that's really the goal, is to just stay on track, stay getting positive yards with this ground game. Now we're going to talk about 2 other runs on the tail end of this video. I call these the coin flip runs because they're not as consistent, but they can work sometimes. And those 2 runs are going to be the toss and the counter. Now, just a quick side note, the regular dive from Strong Close works very similar to the dive weak. Just find which run you like better and run that. That can be your audible. It doesn't matter. I prefer personally the dive weak. They run very similar. So we're going to go ahead and call the toss real quick. I'm going to show you toss versus 3-4 odd. Toss versus 3-4 odd, this is a no-no. I would never run this against 3-4 odd. This is probably going to get blown up in the backfield if I had to guess. This is not the look that you want to run the toss on. Now, we got lucky that our guys actually located that linebacker and kind of double teamed him. Let's go ahead and take a look right here. Typically what happens with this outside linebacker is he gets down blocked by the wide receiver, and then once he sheds that wide receiver, he blows you up in the backfield. We got lucky that our fullback actually located him and chucked him a little bit, and then we were one-on-one with the corner. But this is not the ideal situation to run the toss. If they are doing the show blitz, this looks like it's going to work. But then when you snap the ball, well, sometimes they have a hard time locating. That time it worked. Like I said, it's a coin flip. This run really is a coin flip. It's a risky run. And if we're really trying to stay on track with our ground game and get positive yards, we probably want to stay away from this, especially if they have a strong user, because they can find a way to shoot down in those gaps. Now we're one-on-one with the corner, which Zeke Elliott is a beast, but it's still... Just trust me on this. 3-4 odd, I would not run toss unless they're giving you some stupid look like this, which most people would never do. Now, the one time, and there's one exception to when you might want to run toss on 3-4 odd, and that's when they're in pinch buck, because that's a man blitz. And what you can do, and you can do this with the off tackle as well. If you see this pinch buck, is motion your receiver out of the way. The corner will follow to the other side of the field. Now you have one less defender to deal with. And like I said, it's a coin flip with the toss against pretty much any defense. But if you were to run off tackle against this same motion, getting this defender out of the way, then you'd have more success. It's more consistent blocking. Every now and again you'll pop with this run, and then it's like I said, sometimes you'll get stuff like that where he'll just completely come in unblocked, and that happens against more than just pinch buck. It happens with cover 4, cover 2. If they're in cover 2, you pretty much never want to run the toss because the outside corners will be in run fits and the run is to the outside, so you have a big issue. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the bear. The bear is an overload defense. And what I mean by that is the right side of this bear defense is way stronger than the left side as far as numbers go. So if you were to see this, you would never, ever, ever run the toss against this, because somebody is coming free and you have a pulling guard and you're already getting the ball 4 yards deep in the backfield. You're going to get blown up. If you see this, what you can do is quickly flip it, spam the A button, and then try to get to the outside Now we have decent blocking. We kind of have a convoy out in front of us. You make one guy miss, and you're in good shape. Do not try to run this to the right, because a lot of times you will get blown up in the backfield. See, we had a big issue getting to the outside there. We had a lot more defenders to deal with than just the one guy we had to the left. All right. Let's take a look at the 4-4 split. 4-4 split is treat that the same as 3-4 odd when running the toss. It's a big no-no. It's a balanced defense. A lot of people will run their 3-4 odd like this, or excuse me, their 4-4 split like this. You're getting a wide receiver on a linebacker. Now, that's how we popped it for a touchdown. Coin flip run. Coin flip run. Okay, keep that in your back of your mind when you're running the toss. This is a coin flip run. You never know really what's going to happen. Sometimes you can hit it for a big gain. Sometimes you get hit in the backfield. So use it sparingly. Right there, we almost got caught in the backfield. If a user clicks on, we probably do get caught in the backfield. Now, the other coin flip run is the counter. The counter is one of those that is better against overload defenses. So 3-4 odd, sometimes you'll see this adjustment. Not all the time, and I very rarely see it. Every now and again, the counter will work against this, especially if they are using heavily on this right side. You can bounce this to the outside, make a guy miss. But I really don't like it at all against this because of the pulling guard, especially if they're blitzing everybody. A lot of times you'll have an issue. We got away there. The defensive end or the outside linebacker on the right side sometimes just shoot in and kill you in the backfield. And there's a really easy gap for them to shoot. Cowboys' offensive line is just so yoked. But there's an easy gap for them to shoot on that run on the left side if all the other blockers are taken up, which they will be if they're in this blitz look or this sugar look. So I would use this very sparingly against, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. They'll come off the edge free, hit you in the backfield, and you'll lose yards. Now the defense that it does do decent against is the 3-4 bear. It's more consistent against the bear than pretty much anything, because the bear is weak to the left side. I wouldn't say weak. The bear is definitely not weak to the left side. It's weaker to the left side. So now we have a much bigger lane to run the ball through. And just want to be thorough and take you through 4-4 split. This counter does do well against 4-down lineman sets, except for the 4-4 split. So 4-3 under, 4-3 stack. Those 4-3 formations it does do well against. I really don't like this counter run. We've got 2 hat-on-hat blocks to the lineman and the guard and the tackle. And then we've got 2 defenders with the middle linebacker and the outside linebacker we have to account for. We have the fullback and we have the pulling guard that's going to account for one of them. And we're just hoping that they locate the right guy. We can get blown up in the backfield or we can break it to the outside. It's a really easy gap for a user to shoot if you try to cut this up the middle. You're probably going to get stuffed if you try to run this up the middle. Let's take a look at this real quick. Creates a massive gap right here. This guy is going to be running straight down and try to kill you. And then if you try to bounce this to the outside, you see we're already getting shed. You could get stopped for no gain. You could get stopped in the backfield. It's a risky run. Never run the counter if they do this. You're going to get hit in the backfield most likely. If they are making some stupid adjustments, something like this, then you can pop the counter against 4-4 split, but it's still not consistent. You get quick block sheds, you're in trouble. Run doesn't develop as fast as the dive or the off tackle. So this is basically all that there is to the running game in strong close. The main points I want you to take away from this are stay on track, get positive yards. The two looks that we really love running against are the 3-4 odd sugar concept and the 3-4 odd pinch dog look, where it has the one linebacker in the gap. You can see it before the ball snapped. The one linebacker will be in the gap, and then they'll make their adjustments, and maybe both linebackers will be in the gap. That's when we motion our guy out of the way and run that off tackle. Those are the two best. Probably the third best is that pinch spread from the 3-4 odd. Against the bear, remember, the left side is the weaker side. It's very hard to run on the right. And that's pretty much it. This is a really effective ground game. We can attack all different sides of the defense. Just look for where you have a numbers advantage and try to get positive yards. Next portion of the video will be the passes from strong close. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in video number 2.